Hey guys, one more time on a video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Monday morning to you all. Hope you had a great weekend and hope the week is starting off as well as it possibly could do. In this video, we are talking about the information surrounding Spurs still being interested in Manchester United winger Alejandro Garnacho. We're talking about Thomas Frank's part in the Matisse Tell deal. We're talking about Diego Simeone talking about Romero, Son and Fenerbahce. You name it, we're talking about it. There's so much to talk about and get into. And I won't dilly-dally. I won't waste your time. We're just going to get in and talk about it. Morning, Jake, Milton, Tottenham, Big D, Gons, Spurs, Kookaburra, John. How are we all? Let's jump in and let's talk. And we'll start with Alejandro Garnacho. And it's a very weird transfer, this one. But the Mail Sport have said that Spurs are among the clubs keeping tabs on Alejandro Garnacho. Now, he is to leave Manchester United this summer. That has been already confirmed. He is leaving Man United. I've seen conflicting reports on the value. I mean, a little while ago, it was sort of touted at about 30 odd million. And I think that's what alerted a lot of fans and clubs to say 30 million. That's, and I mean, it's not cheap in world, finances, but it's cheap in world football, especially for an Argentinian international, starts most games week in, week out in the Premier League, and it has had some relatively decent success. And then I've seen other conflicting reports where it's anything up to about 70 million, which, look, I love the enthusiasm. They're not getting 70 million for Garnacho. They're not. And I know Man United fans some of them are very much, hey, we're not getting 70 million, and they live in the real world. And like every club, they have fans that they don't. They believe something that they're not. Every team has those fans, by the way. We have them as Tottenham fans. We'll have fans that are a little bit more, for this community, a little bit more straightforward, kind of understanding that, yeah, all right, we're not the world's best team. We've got some good things going, got some bad things going. And there's some of us that think we should win the quadruple every single season. If we don't, it's a failure. So every team has it. I'm not just digging out Manchester United fans, but any Man United fan that thinks they deserve 70 million for Garnacho, it just means Brennan Johnson is worth 70, 80 million. It means Son, even at his age, is still worth probably more than Garnacho. It shows Matisse Tell probably isn't that far off what Garnacho should be worth. So if 70 million, Spurs have just spent 30 odd on Tell. Brilliant. We can already double our value on him. Perfect. You see what I mean? It's not how it works. Garnacho is not worth that. And then the other issue with that is for Man United is they've been a little bit too open in terms of, oh, we're going to get rid of him. Well, if that's the case, your foothold and strength and hand on this deal, you've already tied one hand behind your back because you've already told everyone he's going. So everyone knows you're selling. Therefore, they're not going to give you the value you want. What you're hoping for is, a good handful of teams that are all going to keep bidding against one another. It's going to drive up the price. Spurs won't get involved in a drive up the price situation. We all know that as Spurs fans. Levy in, levy out, or anything like that, Daniel's not going to get involved in such a thing. Morning, Amel, Adventurous Callum, Adenten, EZ, how are we? I think Garnacho's a divisive figure as well. I've been, on there saying that he has some interesting comments when things don't go his way, and that could obviously, I think a lot of people go, he's got a bad attitude and things like that. It shows that he actually doesn't have a bad attitude in terms of he wants to play. Now, how you communicate does need to improve, but I would also say this. Think about how you were at the age of 20 or 21 and how you are at the age of you are now, or how you'd be at the age of 25, 26, and how different you change as a human. You mature, you learn how to communicate with people or, interviewers and things like that. What you do develop as time goes by. So on Garnacho, I think that's a talent there. I'm querying the price. Now, we know Thomas Frank has a no, head rule. I'm not going to say because I'm not going to get demonetized. Garnacho, people seem to think doesn't seem to fit that. Again, it would come down to a conversation like how it used to be under Ange. You'd have a conversation with the manager. Let the manager speak to the player. Get him to, as we always do it, if you've ever worked in sales or you've ever worked in hiring people, you let that person talk. You hope they drop a nugget or two for you to feed on, for to come back to, and you, in a way, in a sad way, use against that person. you would work out if the guy was a good guy or not. You know, in the media, anyone can lose the plot a little bit with some of the stupidity that journalists give. You'd work out in a general conversation over FaceTime, whatever it is, just a general chatter for 15 minutes with that guy, no agents, nothing like that. You'd work it out. So I'm not, if Thomas Frank wanted him, it's, he would have, they've done the screening. They like him. They think he's a good guy. He's just a little bit young. He will mature. He is young. That's the other thing, but he has actually a lot more experience. I think they're going to get closer to about 40 for Garnacho. Anything more than 40, I would steer clear personally. Anything 40 and below, I think there's a conversation definitely to have. But yeah, the idea that Man United want 70 million, it's like what I've said about Dibbling and Southampton wanting 100 million. Just because you want it doesn't mean you get it. Wants don't get in life, okay? They don't. And it's like me sitting here and saying, well, we wanted 150 million for Romero last summer, then I want now 120 million because it's only a year later. You're not going to get 120 million for Romero. You're not, right? But it's what you set out. That's what I want, but I'm willing to take this. That you work your way down. That's how sales work, doesn't it? You don't just because the market's there doesn't mean it stays there. Football can change daily. Things can change daily. And I would assume this is another one that will end up changing daily. So we'll keep an eye on Garnacho. We'll see about him. But we've got more to talk about, so I'm going to move on. Let's talk about Matisse Tell. Alistair Gold was saying that Thomas Frank was the guy. He was more than happy to give the green light to sign Tell. He's apparently excited by the prospect of working with Matisse Tell, whom he believes he can improve. Apparently, Frank has studied him himself, and he actually thinks the move is a good one. So that's great news. Whatever you think about Matisse Tell, I've not seen enough, I've seen a lot, or anything between. I've always been honest with chances, hasn't I? If you've been watching this channel for long enough, you would know I say, just because I maybe don't think a player is good enough or he's the right player doesn't mean I don't want them. Because at the end of the day, if the manager has been set out a list of things that he needs to achieve, we want to be finishing top 5, we want a good cup run, for example, which that's just, I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going into it. Okay. But let's say that's the example. Then he goes, okay, because you want these 3 things, then I want these 3 things myself. You are to give the manager what he needs. Because if you're setting out a list of jobs and he goes, well, I need these things to attain your list. And you go, we can have one of those things. And he goes, well, you can't have that list. That's the way this is going to work. You give me the resources necessary to get that job done. If you don't give me the necessary resources, how do you expect me to complete that job? So fascinated on that side of things. But again, he wanted him. He believes he can improve him. That's another great thing. He's still a very, very young player. He's one of the more not prolific. He's one of the higher profile youngsters in Europe as well. I sort of said to someone yesterday, I said, had we loaned Matisse Tell at the start of last season, by the January period where he's had, time to build up fitness and form and match sharpness, by January, you'd see a much different player. And I think, with this summer where he spent 6 months in the Premier League, he's had European football, he's played in cups. He's played in both domestic cups, actually, played in both of those. His first game was against Liverpool. You then factor in, he now gets a pre-season where he knows the players as well, which is beautiful. He doesn't have to build connections. He has those connections already. I believe with a pre-season, building fitness up a natural way, I believe he will hit the ground running in a better way this year, in a fair way as well. And I think, he's still young. I do think, I would expect a little bit more from him this season because he would have had a fair opportunity to build into a season. I felt for him in January. That's why I was like, you need to give him the rest of the season, because if you expect him to be amazing after 2 games, you're living in a world where reality doesn't exist. And that's the issue. I also think a lot of people look at, Matisse Tell and go, I want Mikey Moore to play. So he's now taking Mikey Moore's minutes, and Mikey Moore's better than Matisse Tell. And I love Mikey. I think Mikey could be a really great player. Mikey's not better than Matisse Tell. Matisse also gives you more versatility in sack, hence why he's going to get more minutes naturally. So that's why, this season, I think Mikey will continue to get extended minutes. Think of how many minutes he played this season. If it was spread out through the whole of the year, everyone would have been happy. It's because it all came in the space of a window people struggle with. And in the same time, people that struggle with that obviously then disregard the fact that he was, basically off sick for 3 months of the season. No, we're not bringing that into the discussion. That's too much context. Let's talk about the fact he didn't play enough. And it's like, he'll get minutes. He will get minutes. Don't panic. But Matisse is a little bit further ahead, and that's just normal. It's not a dig at Mikey, and it's not me being massively on board with the idea that Matisse is going to be a great player. It's just reality. He is just a little bit further ahead. That's fine. That's normal. He's older as well. But again, he is a well-renowned youngster. There's a lot of upside with Matisse Tell, a lot. And I think with a fair pre-season, he's already had a 6-month initiation in a weird way. I think he'll hit the ground running in a better way this summer. By the way, if he has a stinker in a friendly, people are going to attack him for that, by the way, which I think is hilarious, but you know what I mean. Many people don't seem to appreciate that he was playing in a league team of rotated players that were not managed to their best. No one performed well consistently in the league. Again, no, if you're changing 8 to 9 players because at the end of the day, you've kind of gone, well, do we want to finish 11th and semi-final of the Europa League, or should we just go and win the Europa League? That's why I think, when you watch him in the league versus the Europa League, where in the league he's playing with 18-year-old centre-back, Ben Davies at centre-back, chopping and change players. Look at him when he played in Europe with the main guys or the more settled 11. Night and day player, wasn't he? He was much better in Europe, that's what I've hung my hat on to say, well, when he plays with the main guys, I think he looks pretty solid. He just needs to actually play with the main guys. How many players can we accept to bring in from Brentford? Again, that's a conversation that matters with how Brentford view it. All I'm going to say is, for the amount of time I've witnessed Manchester United bigger Twitter pages and YouTubers go, God, why would Mbeumo go to Spurs now? He didn't want to go to these teams. Why would he go to Spurs now? Again, like most interesting human beings, and you know what I mean when I say interesting human beings, I'm not exactly being massively flattery. Thomas Frank being Spurs manager is context they've just disregarded because it doesn't fit their agendas, but it also doesn't fit the fact that they are worried. They are. If you think Man United fans aren't worried about Spurs and the Mbeumo, you're wrong. They are worried. And I get it, because this is the manager that helped create the Mbeumo that Manchester United are trying to buy. He's now going to another top 6 team in the same city that he is in already, knowing that the Thomas Frank system, the system that Mbeumo had all his success in, this is what he's now going to come up with. Also, it's not exactly like Man United have had much success with Spurs over the last few years. Just saying. It's a bit of a crackle, is there? Unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do whilst I'm live, so apologies for that. It's why people shouldn't judge league performances. No. That's why I wasn't really killing Ange by the end of the season. I was sort of, early halfway through the season, but after I kind of worked out that when you have 12 injuries and suspensions, you're probably not going to be great. It's when I sort of dropped my expectations a bit. And that's normal. That's not me being a bad fan or anything like that. It's just being reasonable. If I said to you, I need you to get this job done, your job, I need you to get it done, you go, 6 of the 12 people that I work with are going to be off for about 3 or 4 months. I'd go, you'd go, well, I'm not going to get all the job done that you want me to. And then me going, no, I still expect it to get done. Don't you think I'd be the idiot manager? It's like the fans going, I still expect to finish top 5 with 12 injuries. It's like, no offense, dude. There's a problem there in your psyche and thinking, isn't there? No, it's going to say for Solomon. I haven't talked about Solomon yet. I'm coming to him in a second. You only want Mbeumo, not Damsgaard, Visser, Norgard, not Collins. Moisey Pam, how are you? Just watch Forever United. Trust me, they're worried. They are. They are, all of them. The amount of times they tweet about Spurs and Mbuemo, they tweet about Mbuemo and Spurs more than we tweet about Mbuemo and Spurs. And we're Spurs fans. I'm not even talking about Mbuemo in this video. There's no real update to give you. They're going, no, we're going to make another bid. No, we're going to do this. He's already agreed personal terms. They're absolutely bricking it. And it's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I've done that. Tell on if Frank is excited. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's too much hype about Frank. He basically never taken over a team like this before. Well, let's be positive, Hippo, mate. Let's not be disparaging or downbeat about Thomas Frank, shall we? Manor Solomon for news. Apparently, Manor Solomon wants to try and impress Thomas Frank in pre-season, although Tottenham are still expected to look at the market for the player after his value rose after an impressive loan spell. So, again, we're getting a lot of reports about Manor Solomon and him wanting to stay. Don't blame him. Obviously, top 6 club. If you do well, you look at Son getting a bit older. You think this could be a position for my taking. I think we need to look at it as his value rocketed after last season. Over 20 goal contributions in the Championship. He was always going to be a squad player. I don't think he was ever going to be the main guy. Think of it this way. Even if you like Solomon, if Solomon was the direct Son replacement, would you be happy? The answer is no. I'll answer it for you. No. So for me, I'm thinking his value's risen. He has a lot of interest from the Premier League as well as European leagues. I'm thinking you've got cash flow issues. Let me add that one. Cash flow issues. You want to actually maximize your squad roster positions. Obviously, Whiteman going, Forster going, Werner going, and Reguilon going. That obviously is a situation where you go, great. 4 spots have been freed up. This is another one where you don't have to worry about, is he going to be on the squad spot? Or should we see him pre-season? And then by that point, maybe he's lost some value or he gets injured. For me, not worth the risk. 15 million is sitting on the table on Manor Solomon. It's 15 million that if you've got cash flow issues, it's going to ease all your cash flow issues. There's teams that want him. It's one of the easier transfers that we're going to make all summer. Everton want him. Leeds want him. I think Marseille were interested in him. This is not one that I think we should be mucking around with. It's something that I've talked about for a long time, Paratici's stint onwards. We've had a real issue of selling players. Højbjerg is sold this summer, 12.5, raising to about 17.5, I think it was. I need to do some research because I keep guessing that it's that, but it could be a slight bit off. But that's going to count, But you're signing Kevin Danso, you're signing Matisse Tell this summer. You basically can negate the Danso and Matisse Tell transfers of the season if you just sell Solomon alongside Højbjerg, because you're going to make nearly 30 million, right? So that's my thinking. You could easily start to tick things off the list. Daniel Levy loves a balanced spreadsheet. Oh, he loves a balanced spreadsheet. Well, Daniel, this is an easy one to balance. I'm actually going to give you free reign to go and balance that. When you have such a bloated squad, and we need to work out what we're doing with Brian Hill, we need to work out what we're doing with those youngsters, we need to work out Alejo Veliz, X, Y, and Z. Vuskovic joins this summer officially and things like that. For me, this is one of those that you go, I've got a big long list of things to do this summer if I'm Johan Lang, because Prachi won't be running the summer. Again, anyone that thinks he won't be running this summer, it'll still be Johan Lang. I would look at it and go, well, this is an easy one that I can tick off the list and forget about. You still might have a decision to make on Ben Davies. You still might have a decision on Son and Bissouma. Bentancur's contract, Romero, who we're going to talk about in a second. There's a lot of things that you are going to be working hard on this summer. It's always like I do it. If at work, if you've got a list of things that you need to get done, I always say start with a nice, easy one. So tick it off. You feel good about something getting ticked off the list. Bit of a spring in your step, blah, blah, blah. This is one of those easier ones where you can tick it off the list and go, great, it's another one done. Brilliant. Right. I've got another couple of easy ones done. blah, blah. All right, now I've got a list of things that's going to require a bit of work and time and patience. If you need time and patience, but your list has shrunken, you go, okay, fine, I feel good. I don't feel like I'm overworked and things like that. This is one of those deals for me. So again, I've always been kind of on there to say I think Solomon's a decent player. I don't think he's ever going to be what we truly, truly want. When his value's at his highest that it's been in a long time, it's just time to cash in. Be smart. We hoard players. The thing with Prashi onwards, all we've done is hoard players. And they lose value, and then we can't ever sell them. They run down their contracts, or we have to pay them off. Here's one, a prime opportunity player to sell. Prime opportunity. Take your 15 million and run. You know what I mean? Sell him and put the money towards Eze. Could the Walkers be an option? Carl Walker is a player that I've always obviously liked. I call him Walks. If you ever heard me, I always talk about him as Walks. He is too far gone now. He's too old. He's lost that sort of pace that he used to rely on, and it's not worth it anymore. A few years ago, maybe, but he's 34. It's not right anymore. Walker Peters is different. He could play left and right back, and he is academy trained. So that's why he has, there is an idea that Spurs fans don't hate that one because obviously that benefit. You won't Everton having Dye, who was good for them last season. Well, Everton I think Everton are in for a fascinating summer this summer because they've moved off of so many players. Like they've got an abundance of squad spots to fill. And they might come in for a Richarlison. They've been linked to Basuma as well. I've had the issue that, apparently Branthwaite is someone that Moyes wants to keep and build around. I don't blame them because obviously he's a good player. I'd be looking at it going, well, here's Richarlison, here's Basuma, here's a few quid, and we'll have that Jared Branthwaite. We want homegrown players. That's a nice, easy one. We want a centre-back. Nice, easy one, It depends. It depends on how they view it. For me, I think centre-back might be something they saw later into the window. Hear me out. Don't, wait. Romero's situation aside, I think they want to see what they have in Vuskovic and Phillips. If they think they're nearly there, but they're just not ready. Oh, look, Vuskovic can get a Bundesliga loan. Oh, let's get him regular minutes in a top. In my opinion, the Bundesliga is one of the best leagues in the world. In terms of play style compared to an English league, I think it's quite similar. It's pacey. It can be physical. Possession based, all those things. I think the Bundesliga, if you can get a player loaned to the Bundesliga for regular minutes, that's the perfect league for me. And if Phillips, you're going to get a good loan spell to a solid championship side, that could be the move. And obviously then from there, you would need to add in a centre back, but you want to give him a chance in pre-season. So it might be a couple of months' time before you actually get the deal done, So there you have it. Callum Roach, how are you, mate? I still don't know why Pedro Goncalves hasn't transferred to the big club. I love him at Spurs. Might end up going to Man United because of Ruben Amorim. So you never know. More Turkish sources saying that Mourinho's met with Heung-Min Son. Apparently, Son's open to Fenerbahce. Apparently, 30 million euros is asked by Tottenham due to agreements in the Far East. I would say, why is burgers trending on Twitter? Monday motivation followed by burgers. I must be missing something there. But on Sonny, well, and Turkey as a whole, Turkey are trying to make loads of moves this summer. It's very interesting. They're handing out big contracts, but ideally they're trying to get players on frees because they don't want to have to spend money on the transfer fee, right? Spurs obviously is much, I think Spurs, if they were, let's say if they wanted to move on from Son, I think they would do him a solid. What I say is they're not going to accept 15 million from Turkey, but reject 45 million from Saudi. They'd go, look, you need to get closer to Saudi, but we'd probably do a bit of a deal to help Son. But I don't know if Turkey have got the money for a transfer fee plus those wages. if it's a 3-year deal and they're offering 12 million a year and we want 30 million, you're talking about a 66 million pound deal for 3 years. Will a Fenerbahce do that alongside everything else they're trying to do? Hakan Çalhanoğlu might be going to Galatasaray or Fenerbahce or one of the two. Obviously Leroy Sané's just gone out there. Osimhen still may go out there. So I don't really know, to be honest. I don't really know. I don't know if they truly have the money. I don't think you're taking enough notice. I have Hippo Bird, mate. You may be new, which if you are, welcome. I've talked about the squad spots for European football last year, all through this year. I've talked about it hundreds of times, if I'm honest, mate. People here that have been here a long time will know how much they're sick of me talking about it. So there you go. But yeah, on Son, there'll be interest. Again, I think there's a chance he may leave. And if so, people just need to be prepared for that. That's all I'm going to say, because it's more likely than ever he may go. More likely than ever. By the way, I think today is the 3-year anniversary of Inside Spurs YouTube account being created and starting to work on. So happy 3-year anniversary to you all. If you've been here for 3 years, fair play. I sadly have been. But yeah, just want to tell you that because I got told that this morning. So there we go. I think Son will still be us next season, potentially, yeah. On Romero, Simeone has been quoted talking about Romero because he was asked about Romero and do Atletico Madrid have interest in signing in the summer? And he's like, do I want Romero? Obviously, he's a great player. Well, good work, Simeone. That value has just gone up an extra 10 million. Yeah. Congratulations, 3-year journey. Appreciate it, Dente, mate. Appreciate it. It's a good, fun journey. When do you start a new job? Technically, Jacob, today. But it's the most relaxing 2 days ever. It's just me doing stuff from home, ticking out, filling out forms, ticking out personal details that they just need, that sort of thing, giving bank details for pay. I think Wednesday's truly my first working day. I think. We'll see. Congratulations on the 3 years. Appreciate it, Lemuel. Callum Roach with a super chat. Callum Roach, if you're new and you go, who's this Callum Roach fella? Okay, you need to get to know one of the OGs of the community. Been here a long time. Been here nearly as long as I have. All right. So he's an absolute bloody legend. And I appreciate for the super chat, mate. Appreciate the super chat, you bloody legend. Happy 3rd birthday. Happy 3rd birthday. Yeah. I look too old for 3 years old. Have I ever missed an episode? No, it's always been me. I'm the only one on this account. Will that change? Maybe going forward, I might have to get other people to get involved. But right now, it's just me. Just me. Me, myself, and I. Any editing that gets done is me. Any research gets done is me. Yeah. We'll see about that. We'll see once I'm working a lot more and what happens from there. Thank you, by the way, Gons and Steve and Simo. Appreciate it, lads. Back to more important news on Romero. Hey, they said that they're going to wait till the end of the month to get an idea. Romero can play alongside Clement Longley, or he can play alongside Mickey van der Ven. I know who I'd rather play with. Watching Atletico yesterday. Yikes. That's a team that got absolutely annihilated by PSG. Watching that game, Atletico could barely get outside their own half. They're sometimes outside their own 16, 18-yard box. So they really struggled with PSG. That PSG team is just ridiculous. I watched them all last year in French football, and they're just ridiculous. Why does it feel like 10 years? Damn, Lee. Appreciate Kookaburra. How was expecting you this evening? Sean, today and tomorrow we'll see. Today was always a day where I start work, but don't really start work, if you know what I mean. Tomorrow is more of a start work day. Yeah, and then going forward, it'll be sporadic where it may go live. But keep your bell notification on because it'll tell you 30 minutes before I go live. But also, if you're in the Discord, which, by the way, join the Discord if you'd like to. It's absolutely free. You don't even have to pay to join, okay? I will also tell people half an hour advance in there that I'm going live. So you're welcome to join. You're welcome to careful of Steve or anarchist. Or careful of Jazz as well, actually. Is Wilson Palacios fit? He's got a small hamstring injury. Blame Ange. It's concerning for when we play PSG. Yeah. Have I thought about doing YouTube shorts? Yeah, a bit, but I just find it really awkward, to be honest. Doing a 50-second video, I've got to rattle off information, give my opinion. It's pretty brutal. It's why I can't do TikTok. I'm also too old for TikTok. I'm nearly 30. I'm too old for TikTok. Looking at it or even doing stuff on there, my progression in terms of YouTube followers obviously would have been hampered by the fact I've not done that. I just can't bring myself to do it. I am way too old. I grew up in the Facebook era. That's how old I am. So no, I won't be doing TikToks. But yeah, shorts every now and then. But again, I just find them really awkward. I will start to maybe bring back the videos at the end of each day when I can. Obviously, it's not going to happen very often. When I can, of just a quick roundup of all the news. So if you do miss it, is Basong still suspended? Yeah, one more match ban. But yes, moving on though with the Romero thing, we'll see about that. I think that's when if I look at Atletico Madrid fixtures, should we have a look when? Okay, so the 23rd of June, so a week today, they play against Botafogo in the Club World Cup. If I look at the Club World Cup to give myself an idea of Club World Cup fixtures. Okay, FIFA website. Just want to see when. I don't want to download an app. Go away. Fixtures. Here we go. Scores and fixtures. So the 23rd of June is the last group games? No. There's more. So the 28th of June, is it 20? Yeah, 28th of June is the first knockout round. So I would say by the end of this month, we'd have a bit more of an idea. Obviously, the longer Atleti play, the more that, it might delay things. But we'll see. We'll see. So you tell me Son's on the way out. I can't spoil anything for you, Sean. I can't spoil anything for you. Moving on, though, because I want to talk about Samuel Luckhurst, who is Manchester Evening News, isn't it? Yeah, he's the chief writer. That was it. Apparently, Man United are confident Brian Mbeumo will still join them despite late interest from Tottenham and Thomas Frank. This is the hilarious thing. Andre Onana has advised Mbeumo to join Manchester United. I wouldn't listen to him, mate. He's probably getting sold this summer, Onana, because they want a new goalkeeper. Look, like I said earlier, I wasn't going to talk about Mbeumo, but that's just come out. My whole thing about this deal is a lot of noise from Manchester United side. That's obviously been leaked to Luckhurst, by the way. That had been leaked by Man United to Luckhurst. It's very noisy. For a team that has so much confidence, very noisy. Every day. No, we're confident. Every day. We're confident. It has to be reassured into the media to manipulate people and things like that. Whereas we're like, yeah, Thomas Frank will have a conversation. We'll see what happens. Get on with it. They're like, no, he's joining us. He's going to join us. I promise you, Man United fans, Brian Mbeumo is joining us. I love it. Rattled. They are absolutely rattled. I know they lost 4 times to us this season. Ineos are getting sued by Spurs. I know it's 5 losses in a year, potentially. This would be a 6th. They are rattled by us. Like, what has happened to Man United as Spurs are wrestling them like this? Interesting. It's an interesting situation they've got going on there. I think the new owners, I don't think they're being run very well. I think Omar Barada, is overstated and overrated. 62.5 million for Mateus Cunha, 70 million for Gyökeres, 70 million for Mbeumo. Okay, so you're going to spend 200 million on 3 players. What was the exact issues that Man United have faced in the last 10 years? They spend too much on individual players and don't get enough reward in return for them. Man United have holes in that squad all over the place. Lissandro Martinez coming off a big injury. The keepers, both of them, crap. Wingbacks, Dorgu's obviously quite new. Mazraoui's solid, but doesn't offer you any sort of actually attacking threat. You've got Dalot, so they might have to play Mazraoui at sort of centre-back. Again, it's not exactly strong, Mazraoui at centre-back. Any physical teams going to cause him issues at the back post. Midfield, Agate, good, probably not getting the value that they wanted out of him so far. Casemiro's too old. Mainu, they don't seem to play because he's not fit enough apparently to play the centre mid role. Whatever that is. They're playing Bruno there, so they're actually kind of screwing Bruno a little bit because he's better going forward. And the attacking three, they've got a £70 million striker who's not good enough. They need to be spending 250 million, but on 7 players instead of 3 players. So good luck to them. It's not going to fix their issues. It never has in the last 10 years. 8th in an FA Cup for Manchester United, who are one of the highest revenue-earning teams in world football, isn't good enough for them. They should be fighting Premier League titles year in, year out. They spend, just like any other massive team, they can really do it. And even with riddled with debt, they spend a lot of money, and there's no real return and reward for them. So, plucky old Tottenham. Hey, it's just Tottenham, lads. Do you remember that saying? It's just Tottenham, lads. Somewhat has a different meaning now when you're wrestling bigger teams like Man United, eh? So on them, I still think they will get Mbeumo. I spend less time talking and worrying about Mbeumo than I think probably most Spurs fans do. I think Man United still sign him. I do. I think Man United are going to give him about 100,000 extra reasons a week to play for them than we would. Have at it, you know what I mean? Sort of thing. If we sign him, we sign him. If we don't, we move on. There's other targets that we'd be linked to. So we'll see. You don't understand how United can afford it. Ratcliffe put in an extra few hundred million into the club, which for 3 years extended their FFP from about 15 million by an extra 100 million every year. Sales, they're getting off of wages this summer, which they need to, but need to do a lot more, and that's going to take a couple of years. The Casemiros, the Luke Shaws, the Lindelofs, Ericssons, some of them are leaving already this summer. Some they won't be able to move off of, or they'll pray that Saudi can come and get them. Xerxes and Højlund, we'll see what's going on there with strikers. Garnacho, Rashford, Sancho. They've still got massive, massive names on massive wages that they don't want at the club. So good luck to them. That's why people go, hey, what about Rashford? What about Sancho? It's like, yeah, it's not 6 years ago when they were good. They're also on 300 grand a week. Why would we go near that? With Grealish, it's like, well, it's Man City. They can afford it. They'd help you on wages on the other side. With Man United, they made their bed. Let them lay in it. They can't afford what they're doing. Let them lay in it, PSR is dead. Chelsea assassinated it. Yeah. They found Chelsea, for every time a hole gets plugged by the Premier League or your FFP, whoever does it, the FA, whatever, every time they plug a hole, Chelsea find another one. And it's just a game of cat and mouse with them in Chelsea. And they can't get ahead of Chelsea because Chelsea are finding gaps and holes across it all because it's a flawed system. Van Gogh, mate, how are you? I'm good. It's my three-year YouTube birthday today. So I'm 3 years old. When do you ever see a 3-year-old with a beard and muscles? What's your number one position to make the biggest signing of in the summer? I mean, it would matter how you view certain players in the squad. Like if you view Kulu as a centre mid, then you'd go, well, right wing is going to be necessary. If you view him as a right winger, then you'd go, a centre mid could be massive. I think the most effective one, the irony, this is going to be laugh, the most effective move that we can make, doesn't mean it's the biggest move. I think the most effective move is left back. So you have 2 actual left backs now. I think our star name signing will be in the sort of attacking mid-winger role this summer. That's where I think Spurs make their big move. But most effective will be a left back. Most effectively left back, you know. Eze's still your number one. Appreciate it, Van Gogh, mate. Appreciate it. Any word on Alfie Whiteman? No, nothing. Nothing. He's technically still a Spurs player. He's got about 2 more weeks of being a Spurs player, I believe. And then, yeah, we get a new club. He's good enough to play League One, League Two football, probably. He'll get a chance there. You know, Leyton Orient. Is Leyton Orient a bad shout? You got to think, you know, Josh Keeley's no longer there. They need a keeper. It's an easy transition for Alfie Whiteman. Just saying. Buemo as a Hato being not. Yeah, I mean, look, I've always had an attitude with like an Buemo or an Eze or even a Semenyo. I think you're making one of those signings because you're not going to be able to. Levy won't ever sanction a second name like that. You know, like you think about last summer, right? He signs Slanky. That was the big move, right? It's Archie Gray, the second guy, and the deal ends up being 30 million because Joe Rodon's 10 million of the 40. So that's how it always will go. He'll make a big move like a Slanky or something like that, and then he'll make 2 or 3 sort of mid-tier moves like 30 million. That's how we've always really done it. And the times where we've done, you know, multiple 40 million pound moves, that's because we've not made a big 60 odd million pound signing where you can go, well, you can take the extra 10 million and give it to 2 other players. You can work it out, you know. You think it's a defensive midfielder? Yeah, maybe. Again, I need to do some research this week about how Frank uses his sort of double pivots and things like that, and you see what players suit it. Because as much as people go, get Paulinho, it's like, well, Paulinho doesn't suit what Thomas Frank wants to do, then what we're doing. You're not exactly trying to help the manager, you know. So I sort of say, yeah, appreciate the happy birthday. It's not actually my physical birthday. That's in February. It is my YouTube account's birthday today. So 3-year anniversary of YouTube. Look, if we get Eze, I'm not going to complain either, but they've already sort of leaked it to the media that Spurs are going to struggle with the release clause. So it's like, you've got to give it time on that. Yeah. So if whatever happens, you expect Eze to go elsewhere. I expect Eze probably just to stay at Palace. Or, I mean, you know, would Newcastle go for an Eze? I mean, I don't think Palace and Newcastle have a great relationship due to the Mark Guay fiasco from last year. I think also, like I said, I've always said, if Guay gets sold, they don't have a need to sell Eze. Now, there might be a gentleman's agreement potentially, but if you sell one player and you get 40 million, for example, you're not going to get, you're not going to get Palace going, God, we need to sell other players. If they get a good offer, fine. But if they don't, they're happy to keep them, you know. If we get Eze and Buemo, it would finally mean Levy is serious. Yeah, I don't think you're getting either, mate. I don't think you're getting either. I wouldn't be surprised if Eze stays at Palace due to them being in Europe, hopefully due to the potential. No, I believe they've got past the at Palace the dual ownership nonsense. Yeah, they've passed it. They're fine. I think Eze only goes to Newcastle to sell Gordon. Yeah, I mean they could do with the right winger. Newcastle. I think they need attacking players. I think also I think Wilson's going this summer potentially, so they're going to need another striker. I think right winger for Newcastle is exactly what they need. That's why I thought Mbeumo would go there, to be honest, because I thought it was signed, sealed, delivered. It's perfect, but apparently not. Apparently I was wrong. Hot take: we need a CDM more than any forward players. Again, try and with thinking about players this summer, take your mind off of the Ange Postecoglou system now, because we're not going to be playing, you know, crazy football like we did under Ange, we're going to be playing sometimes a lot more disciplined. So you're not going to need a 6 that has to cover sideline to sideline, box to box. It's rare that they're going to need to do that. Like I said, look at Vitinha. The amount of people that go, we need a dominant 6. We need a guy, big number 6. Like, then explain to me how the best number 6 in the world at the moment is about 5'4". It's about reading the game. That's the big thing. Having players alongside them that know their jobs and when to do things, like João Neves, Fabian. You need to remind yourself not of Ange's system, but what Thomas Frank's system is. Quite often uses a double pivot. Well, therefore, you won't need a guy covering sideline because he's got other people with them. So that's what I'm saying. How you view a 6 under Ange is a different potential 6 than what Frank's uses. We obviously still need to play an 11-side game where one of them needs to be maybe a bit more defensive minded. But we've seen, the irony is when we play double pivot and we've been a bit more structured, there's players there that can actually do it. But it's how we want to go using it long term. We're not going to be trying to play for 30% possession and things like that, are we? Palace will believe they can win the Europa League. I don't know who's in the Europa League this season, so I won't offer up an opinion on that. We still need a midfielder that can progress the ball forward. Don't forget about that Swedish fellow we've got in midfield. Bentancur can do that as well. Will I take Eze or Mbeumo? Mbeumo probably suits what Thomas Frank wants to do more. Eze is the one that I really, really want. I've wanted a long time, as you know, Van Gogh. But if Mbeumo is the guy that Frank wants more, then we go and get Mbeumo. Or we go and try and get Mbeumo, you know what I'm saying? Because what I want is irrelevant to what the manager wants, Discipline equals boring, falling asleep at 3 a.m. That was why I hated Conte. I slept that season in front of the TV. No, I don't mean disciplined like Conte football where it's just boring to watch and no one enjoys it. Disciplined in terms of, hey, we're not going to press to every corner of the pitch. We're not going to leave huge gaps, things like that. We're going to pick it. Like I said to you when we first got Thomas Frank, we're going to pick and choose when we press. But when we press, we go. Everyone on the team goes and knows that when this guy's pressed, right, he's setting off, right, we're all setting off with him, and that's why Thomas Frank, quite often, you'll see Brentford, they win the ball up about the halfway line and they're going, and that's what I think this year. Frank can change his style depending on the opponent. I'm excited for Frank. What I would say is with Frank, be patient. The people that think he can play 6 or 7 different systems, he's not going to be able to do that at Spurs straight away. He's going to need years to develop those systems. He'll have 1 or 2. I mean, the 4-3-3 is what he'll nail down on because he goes, well, they've already played a 4-3-3 last season. We'll just develop that and tweak it to what we see. And then we're going to add in, a 4-5-1. We'll add in that 4-2-4, whatever it might be, and then just build on it slowly so you're not overloading those players, Frank ball ain't suicidal ball like Ange ball or RZRD ball. Yeah, and it's also not terrorist ball like Conte. So you might find the happy medium of them all. Let's pause it for left back. I don't know. Left back, I just really want one, but I don't know. Marshall, how are you, my friend? But we'll see. But yeah, left back is one that I truly, truly want. Right, let's have a look at any more news that I need to give a damn about. No. Okay, good. Good. Look, thank you so much for joining today. Like I said, going forward, timings of when I go live may differ. They may change. They may be earlier in the morning. They may be in the evenings. I do apologise, but new job and all, things can obviously get in the way of that. So I do apologise for that. Tomorrow, I'm not sure when we're going to go live. Just hit the bell notification. Keep the idea as to when I'm going to go live because it's going to be here, there, and everywhere for the next few months before I get a real structure on life. All right. So apologies ahead of schedule. Yeah, congratulations, Matters, on the pregnancy. Not his pregnancy, obviously, but his partner's pregnancy. When's he going to find time to introduce yourself to form midweek games will be make difficult? That'll be on Thomas Frank. He's paid to do that job. I'm paid to not do that job. So there you go. But look, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Please go enjoy the rest of your mornings, your afternoons, your evenings, wherever you are in the world. Look after yourselves, more importantly. And if anything breaking happens, say we can still go live like normal. But if not, I'll be back tomorrow to talk a lot more about Tottenham. Take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I'll speak to you all then. Peace.